This is a build for a storage box for Marvel Zombicide from CMON. It's basically a box with trays. These are 6-inch, 3/4-inch pine boards. I'm cutting them down to start working on the trays. Then I have to trim the edges for edge joining. I'm going to use the up-down method here. Here I'm writing up and then down, then up and down. So using this method, it doesn't matter if your blade is parallel or not. By using this, the cuts will complement each other. And so the first board is going to be in the up position. Also, I lost the video, but I had planed these boards down to 1/2 inch wide. And so this is trimmed in the up position. Then I take the next board, I flip it down, that's down. Flip it again, and now that's up. And then the next board, I will cut that in the down position. And then when you join these boards together, they will join evenly. Now I'm going to edge join the boards using glue, parallel clamps, and cawls. One thing to keep in mind here when you clamp them, do not over clamp them. Just clamp them enough just to get a little bit of squeeze out. If you over clamp them, you will warp the boards. I repeated this process multiple times, and now I have 4 trays. Next, I'm going to square the trays up, so I'm going to cut them to the size that I need. The edge that I'm cutting on now is very straight, so I'm just cutting it on the table saw. But you can see the other edge is not so straight. And so I'm going to use what's called a jointer sled to square up those uneven edges. There's lots of videos on how to make one of these. And now since I have a straight edge, I can flip it and straighten them up, then run them through the planer. Here's the finished trays after squaring them up and running them through the planer. I'm going to sand them now. I put some pencil marks on them, start at 120 grit, sand the pencil marks off, then make more pencil marks, go to 180, sand those off, and then go to 220. Using calipers, I'm going to measure out the hole slots for the miniatures. With the calipers, I'm just pushing down really hard to get a good indentation in the wood. I'm using an 1.25" Forstner bit to make the hole slots for the miniatures. Be careful not to drill too far down, which I accidentally did a couple of times. Just checking the fit for the miniatures. Now using a 1/4" roundover bit to round off the edges. I'm now going to make a tray to hold the walker zombies, the brutes, and the runners. And I'm using pine. I believe it's about 1/8 inch thick. And you can kind of see here how I'm going to lay out the dividers. On second thought, the wood thickness may be closer to 1/4 inch. I was just using a lot of wood that I had laying around. So the next tray I'm making is a tray with dividers for the dice and the cards and the tokens. One mistake I made was that when I clamped this, I clamped it too hard. It ended up warping it just a little bit. It's not really that big a deal to me, but when working with such thin pieces, it's very easy to over clamp it to the point that you can warp it or bring it out of square. Now I'm making boxes for the character cards and for the sentinels. The wood that I'm using for this is 3mm Baltic birch. You can actually buy it off Amazon. Usually it's used for laser cutters, but it works really well for these small boxes. I could have also used this for the other dividers. I'm using a basic butt joint to put these boxes together. The tape seems to work pretty well on holding it together. I made a total of 4 of these boxes. Next, I'm going to start working on a sliding front door. Here I'm just planing some pieces of pine I have down to 1/8 of an inch thick. And I'm going to edge join these, so I'm using the up-down method to trim the edges to get a good, nice fitting edge joint. I had never tried edge joining pieces that were so thin, so I was a little skeptical as to whether it would work, but it actually worked really well. I think using the cawls helped a lot. You can see I trimmed the top and bottom, and I added some pieces of walnut to the top and bottom, really just for decorative purposes. It turned out pretty well. Now I'm cutting pieces for the main part of the box. I'm using 3/4 inch plywood just because I had some available, but you could use any type of wood for this. Now I'm going to miter the edges of the pieces that I cut. Now I'm measuring where I want this centerpiece to go. This is the 3mm Baltic birch I was talking about that I'm going to inset into this frame. So I'm measuring where I want that to go to. Next, I'm going to route a channel using a 1/4 inch straight bit. Then a round over bit for the edges. Then using the 1/4 inch straight bit, I'm routing a channel that will that the door will slide into. So you can see it there. Now I'm putting the frame together with glue and brad nails. The inset piece has laser etching on the other side with the Fantastic Four symbol. And then the other piece, I made the other one with the Avenger symbol. Now I'm cutting the cross pieces that will hold the two frames together. Then rounding off the edges here. And here's all the pieces, all the components, and I'm gonna assemble them. Here's the cross pieces. So I'm using glue and brad nails to put this together. Also, if you'll notice in a minute, you can see that I added some walnut pieces just as trim. This is completely optional. Also, all the laser cutting is completely optional. You could build this same design and make it much simpler, I'm sure. Now I'm gluing in the bottom ledger board. These ledger boards are what is going to hold the trays in place. In retrospect, I wished I'd made the whole thing a little bit narrower, but it worked out. And here I am measuring for the next ledger boards. And I'm putting everything in place so I can try to accurately measure as well as I can. You can see I'm running little pine slats across the ledger boards just to help support the trays better. And now I am putting some slats across the top to hold the rule books and tiles. You can see I'm using walnut. I did use some walnut pieces throughout just because I had some laying around. Now I am trimming the door, and I had added some walnut to the side of this also, as well as laser cutting Marvel Zombies. The final step is using spray lacquer on the whole project. You always want to use a mask when you're using this, and you can buy the spray lacquer at your big box store, or you can order it off Amazon. It's very easy to apply. There's many videos online about applying lacquer. And here is the finished product. Again, you could build this same thing and make it simpler. I mean, it really is just a box with trays, and you can make it as simple or as elaborate as you want. It is a little bit bulky, but everything fits in there pretty snug, so I don't know that I could have made it much smaller. Also, I do believe this storage solution would work very well for other miniature heavy games.